Hello everybody, you're back in Enlightened X Kitchens with Katherine Miller, and we're continuing our quest to create salads that include as many of the 9 to 12 servings of fruit and vegetables we're supposed to be eating every single day. So, let's get started. Leafy greens, if you remember, those are one of the main things we're supposed to include many servings of a day. This is baby arugula. It's a very interesting tasting leafy green, and it's readily available at grocery stores. This is dandelion greens. These are a little bit bitter, but really good for you, and I thought we could include a few of those, but they're optional if you can't find them. Clover sprouts. These are a very common sprout. If you can't find them, alfalfa can be used. In terms of the deeply colored vegetables that we're recommended to eat every day, we have a beet, a beautiful red beet, some orange carrots, and a red onion. All of these are full of different antioxidants that are very important for us. In terms of the fruit we're going to have for this salad, we have some raspberries. These are optional depending on what season you're in. And then we have this beautiful pear. It's a Danjou pear with a nice red blush on it. For the nut today, we have walnuts. Now walnuts, I like to soak them for an hour. And that makes them very soft and kind of succulent, and it also deactivates the parts of the walnuts that aren't readily digestible, and it activates the parts that are. And then for those of you that aren't vegan, I have some feta cheese. This is an optional part, but this is a goat feta, and it goes very well with the greens in this salad. All right, so the next thing I need to show you is how do you cut these things? How do you prepare these things? The baby arugula comes already washed. The dandelion greens, depends how you get them, but if you need to, you wash them and just cut them into 1-inch strips. The sprouts are fine as they are. If the roots are a little bit old like these, if they're a little bit brown, then I recommend cutting that part off. But then you still have the rest of the greens, the top part. There you go. Okay, so the carrots, I've peeled this carrot. I'm going to show you how to cut it in a way that's so you cut it in half lengthwise. You put the flat side down so it doesn't move, and you cut it in strips like this. So it makes a beautiful kind of oblong. Okay. Now, as usual, with most of the vegetables, the harder vegetables that I put into salads, I like to add a little pinch of salt to them just to start to get the flavors coming out into the vegetable. All right, red onion. We're just going to use about a half of this onion. And what I like to do is I like to cut it not crosswise, but lengthwise. So you can see there's like very thin wedges of onion here. And this is a bit of a Mediterranean style salad. I'm separating the onion here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just like say a teaspoon of a really nice, this is a very nice syrupy balsamic vinegar, very sweet. And I'm going to add that into the red onion and stir it up with my fingers. And then I'm going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to mix that in. And that, again, that's going to help. That's just going to briefly marinate these red onions just long enough to take a little bit of the sting out and bring out the sweetness. Okay, so we're going to set that aside for the moment. And then I have this beet here. Now, beets are a little bit tough because they're round and they're hard. So you're going to cut it in half, and then you're going to place the cut side down so you don't have to worry about it wobbling. And then cut strips. Fairly thin strips, or it's not really strips, you're going to cut thin slices, and then you're going to put those slices down like a deck of cards, and then cut them into thin strips. There. Now beets are also pretty crunchy, so I like to mix those, and since the red onions are also kind of purpley. I'm going to mix the beets in with those. I'm going to add another teaspoon of balsamic vinegar and another pinch of salt. And then mix them up a little bit. Great. All right, we're getting there. We're almost ready. The last thing we need to prepare for this is the pear, and you want to make sure your cutting board's clean. You cut it in half, and then you're going to take out the stemmy part and the center of it, and you're going to cut it into strips. And probably for 4 people, you'll want a quarter of a pear per person. Okay. Now, if these slices are going to sit around for a while, you'll want to use a lemon to squeeze over them so they don't turn brown. But if you're going to serve this right away, you don't have to worry about that. You can just serve them as is. I like to use pears that are a little bit harder and not too soft and mushy. The mushy ones turn brown faster. Okay, so the easiest way to mix this salad together is to just put all the greens into a nice big bowl. And then I have some maple syrup here, which is one of the nicest sweeteners for this. You can also use honey. You can use agave syrup. I like to use maple syrup with this. It goes really good with the walnuts. So you just use maybe a little bit less than a tablespoon for this whole salad. And you start to mix it up very gently so you don't bruise the greens. And then, same thing, maybe just another teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. And you just start to toss it very lightly. And then a little bit of salt. Now the way I would serve this salad, you taste a leaf just to see if it's good. Very nice. So the way I would normally serve this salad is I would take a nice white bowl like this. I'd put about a quarter of the greens. I figured this recipe is good for about 4 people. The next thing you want to put on this mix, because you're going to kind of layer everything, is a nice big whack of sprouts. So you want to make sure you get enough in there to make a difference. And then carrots, that'll be the next thing that you're going to sprinkle on top. Then you use a quarter of the beet and onion mixture on top of that. And you won't believe how these onions are going to taste. They're going to taste really great. All right, so then the pears are going to just get tucked in around the edges of the bowl like this. They're a little bit pink from the beets, if that's okay. And then walnuts. A couple tablespoons of walnuts. These are filled with omegas and really good fats. Some of these raspberries, since we happen to have them on hand. And then, if you don't mind having a little dairy, use about a tablespoon of feta. The combinations of these flavors are really unique, and as you know, it's fine for things to look good, but they also have to taste good if you really want people to enjoy them. So I'm going to do a quick taste test on this. Thumbs up. Very good.